But the girl on my side, I love her like Pop-Tarts. I was missing my baby now. My mama, my sister, my brothers, and they them. They sweeter than 9 ladies. The shit I be serving, it look like some toilet paper.
December 12th, 2022. Arlington, Texas. A security camera captures the final moments of 30-year-old Tyrone Darling's life in the parking lot of Lisa's Chicken Restaurant. What should have been a routine custody exchange became the site of his murder, at the hands of not just his ex-girlfriend, but also her new female partner. This isn't just another story of domestic violence. This is a case where past love transformed into deadly resentment, where custody battles evolved into murder plots, and where 2 women joined forces to permanently remove a father from his child's life. Tyrone Darling was a man with modest dreams and everyday struggles. At 30, he worked as a security guard in Arlington, Texas, a job that provided stability while he pursued his true passion. During his free hours, Tyrone transformed into an aspiring rapper, pouring his experiences and hopes into lyrics that spoke of a better tomorrow. Friends described him as determined, hardworking, and committed to creating a future where both he and his child could thrive. Those who knew Tyrone noted his dedication to fatherhood. Despite the breakdown of his relationship with Tamia Williams, the mother of his child, he fought to maintain an active presence in his child's life. He worked extra shifts when necessary, adjusted his music recording schedule, and made countless compromises to fulfill his responsibilities as a father. He was the type who'd give up a recording session in a heartbeat if his kid needed him, said one friend who asked to remain anonymous. Fatherhood wasn't something he took lightly. It was everything to him. Tyrone met Tamia Williams in 2018. Their relationship progressed quickly, and within a year, they welcomed a child. Initially, the couple appeared to navigate the challenges of new parenthood together, with Tyrone balancing his security job, music aspirations, and family responsibilities. But beneath the surface, tensions grew. Friends observed arguments becoming more frequent. By 2021, the relationship had fractured beyond repair, with disagreements about parenting styles, financial responsibilities, and Tyrone's music career creating insurmountable barriers. When they separated, the battle for custody began. Court records reveal multiple filings as both parents sought favorable arrangements. What emerged was a fragile compromise, a shared custody agreement that satisfied neither party. For Tyrone, the arrangement meant limited time with his child, while Tamia expressed frustration about schedule disruptions and what she perceived as Tyrone's inconsistent parenting. The custody exchanges became flashpoints. Witnesses to previous exchanges described visible tension, harsh words exchanged, and at least 2 incidents where police were called to intervene, though no arrests were made. These moments, these handoffs from one parent to another, grew increasingly hostile. The situation intensified when Tamia Williams began a relationship with 23-year-old Chanel Sherrod in early 2022. Court records show that within months of this new relationship, Tamia filed for modifications to the custody arrangement, seeking to reduce Tyrone's access to their child. Text messages recovered from Tyrone's phone revealed his growing anxiety. In one message to a family member 3 weeks before his death, he wrote, "Every exchange is worse than the last." Now her girlfriend shows up too, watching me, making comments. "I'm just trying to see my kid." What Tyrone couldn't have known was how dangerous this next chapter would become. The custody arrangement that was meant to provide structure instead created a predictable pattern, one that would ultimately lead to a fatal ambush in a restaurant parking lot. As December 2022 approached, the exchanges had become so contentious that Tyrone had asked a friend to accompany him. That friend had a scheduling conflict on December 12th. Tyrone went alone. It would be the last decision he ever made. If you're finding this story as disturbing as I do, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps us continue investigating these complex cases that often don't receive the attention they deserve. These stories matter because they highlight critical issues in our society, from how we handle custody disputes to recognizing when conflicts might turn deadly. By sharing this video, you're helping raise awareness about the devastating consequences of unresolved anger and retribution. Drop a comment below with your thoughts so far. Do you think custody exchanges should have more oversight or protection? Your engagement helps build our community of critical thinkers who care about justice and prevention. Now let's continue with how a new relationship dramatically altered the power dynamics between these three individuals. Early 2022 marked a significant shift in the already fragile custody arrangement between Tyrone Darling and Tamia Williams. This change wasn't due to court orders or legal modifications. It was the entrance of 23-year-old Chanel Sherrod into Tamia's life. Tamia, then 29, met Sherrod through mutual friends at a local music venue. Ironically, the same type of venue where Tyrone often performed his rap sets. According to those close to Tamia, the connection with Sherrod was immediate and intense. Within weeks, the relationship had progressed rapidly, with Sherrod spending substantial time at Tamia's home. The same home where Tamia's child with Tyrone spent half their time. Former coworkers of Tamia described noticeable changes in her demeanor after beginning the relationship with Sherrod. She became more confrontational about everything, especially anything related to Tyrone, said a former colleague who worked with Tamia at a local retail store. It was like having someone new in her corner made her more bold about the custody situation. Text messages obtained during the investigation reveal that Sherrod took an active interest in the custody arrangement almost immediately. In messages exchanged between the couple just 2 months into their relationship, Sherrod wrote, "You shouldn't have to deal with him at all. There's ways to get full custody, you know." What began as emotional support and suggestions quickly evolved into direct involvement. By May 2022, Sherrod had begun accompanying Tamia to custody exchanges, despite Tyrone's objections. While Sherrod initially remained in the vehicle during these exchanges, her presence alone altered the dynamic significantly. A friend of Tyrone's who witnessed several exchanges noted the change. When it was just Tamia and Tyrone, there was tension, sure. But when Sherrod started showing up, the whole vibe changed. Tamia would barely look at him, just hand off the kid and relay messages through Sherrod, who'd be watching from the car. It felt intentional, like they were trying to push him out. Phone records show that between March and July 2022, Tamia made 3 formal complaints to family court, claiming Tyrone was hostile during exchanges. None of these complaints resulted in modified court orders, as evidence was deemed insufficient. However, the pattern of accusations created paper trails that would later be scrutinized by investigators. By August 2022, Sherrod had taken a more active role. Security footage from a gas station where one exchange occurred showed her exiting the vehicle, standing beside Tamia, and engaging directly with Tyrone. The footage, though without audio, clearly showed animated conversation and confrontational body language. Those who knew the couple described a troubling progression in their private conversations about Tyrone. A mutual friend who later spoke to investigators reported overhearing discussions about getting him out of the picture permanently as early as September 2022. At the time, the friend dismissed this as venting frustration, not realizing the foreshadowing these words contained. Sherrod's influence extended beyond the custody exchanges themselves. Social media posts recovered from Tamia's accounts showed a dramatic shift in tone when discussing co-parenting. Earlier posts often expressed frustration but maintained boundaries. After Sherrod's arrival, posts became more antagonistic, with veiled references to eliminating problems and permanent solutions. The couple's dynamic created what psychologists would later describe as a reinforcement chamber, where each woman validated and amplified the other's negative feelings toward Tyrone. Text messages between them referenced him as the obstacle and the problem, dehumanizing language that experts suggest can precede violence. October and November 2022 saw the most concerning escalation. During an exchange at a public park, witnesses reported seeing Sherrod exit the vehicle and approach Tyrone directly, pointing her finger in his face while Tamia remained in the car with the child. One witness described hearing Sherrod tell Tyrone, "You won't be in the picture much longer." A week before the fatal encounter, Tyrone filed his own complaint with family court, requesting that exchanges occur only with the biological parents present. The hearing for this request was scheduled for December 14, 2022, 2 days after he was killed. Perhaps most telling were the search histories recovered from both women's devices. In the weeks leading up to December 12th, searches included how to get full custody after father is gone, what happens to child support if father dies, and self-defense laws in Texas. The final exchange before the murder occurred on November 28, 2022. Parking lot camera footage from that day showed both women exiting the vehicle during the exchange. While no physical altercation occurred, the body language suggested heightened tensions. Tyrone was seen backing away repeatedly, hands raised in a defensive posture. What nobody realized then was that this pattern of escalation was building toward a devastating conclusion. The relationship between Tamiya and Sherrod had created a dangerous alliance, one that would ultimately cost Tyrone his life during what should have been a routine custody exchange just 2 weeks later. December 12, 2022. A Monday afternoon in Arlington, Texas. The weather was mild, 58 degrees with scattered clouds, as Tyrone Darling pulled into the parking lot of Lisa's Chicken at 4:37 p.m. Security cameras captured his arrival in his gray 2015 Honda Accord. He parked in the northeast corner of the lot, away from the restaurant's main entrance, a spot he had used for exchanges before because of its visibility from multiple angles. Text messages recovered from Tyrone's phone show he arrived early, messaging a friend at 4:39 p.m. Waiting for the exchange, same spot as always, got here early to make sure everything goes smooth. The exchange was scheduled for 5 p.m. according to their court-ordered custody agreement. Tyrone waited in his vehicle, occasionally checking his phone. At 4:52 p.m., he sent another text. "They just pulled in. Something feels off. Wish you could have come with me today." That instinct, that something was different this time, proved tragically accurate. At 4:51 p.m., security footage shows a black 2020 Toyota Camry entering the parking lot. Tamiya Williams' car with Chanel Sherrod behind the wheel. Rather than parking in their usual spot across the lot, Sherrod pulled the vehicle directly next to Tyrone's car on the driver's side, leaving minimal space between vehicles. The positioning was unusual and significant. Previous exchanges had always maintained distance between vehicles, but this new arrangement forced Tyrone to exit into the narrow space between the cars. Experts would later point to this as the first sign of a premeditated confrontation. At 4:53 p.m., Tyrone exited his vehicle. The camera angle captured him glancing at his phone before putting it in his pocket. Tamiya remained in the passenger seat of the Toyota, while their child was visible in the back seat. For 23 seconds, Tyrone stood beside his car, appearing to wait for Tamiya to exit with the child. At 4:54 p.m., instead of Tamiya, it was Sherrod who exited the driver's side. Security footage shows her immediately moving toward Tyrone, her right hand extended with her index finger pointed at his face. Though no audio was captured, witnesses in the restaurant reported hearing raised voices. A witness who was entering the restaurant at that moment later told police, the shorter woman, Sherrod, was yelling something about respect and how he wouldn't be a problem anymore. The man, Tyrone, had his hands up, like he was trying to calm things down. The footage shows Tyrone backing up, hands raised in a non-threatening posture. Sherrod continued advancing, eventually making physical contact by pushing Tyrone's chest with both hands. Tyrone did not retaliate, but continued backing toward the rear of his vehicle. At 4:55 p.m., the passenger door of the Toyota opened, and Tamiya Williams exited. The child remained in the back seat. Instead of bringing the child for the exchange, Tamiya reached back into the vehicle. Security footage shows her retrieving something from the glove compartment. What happened next occurred in just 47 seconds. Tamiya approached Tyrone, who was still backing away from Sherrod. When Tamiya raised her right hand, the security camera captured the unmistakable outline of a handgun, later identified as a 9mm Ruger LC9s. Witnesses reported hearing Tamiya yell, "You'll never take my baby from me." At 4:56 p.m., with Tyrone cornered between the two women and a parked SUV, Tamiya fired twice. The first shot struck Tyrone in the chest. He clutched his torso and fell to one knee. The second shot hit him in the neck as he was falling. 3 witnesses inside the restaurant immediately called 911. Restaurant staff rushed outside as Sherrod and Tamiya returned to their vehicle. The footage shows Sherrod calmly entering the driver's seat, while Tamiya returned to the passenger side. Their child was still in the back seat, having witnessed the entire incident. The Toyota exited the parking lot at 4:57 p.m., just 3 minutes after they had arrived. First responders reached the scene at 5:04 p.m. Despite immediate medical intervention, Tyrone Darling was pronounced dead at 5:23 p.m. in the parking lot where he had simply come to see his child. The entire encounter lasted less than 7 minutes from arrival to departure. A father's life ended during what should have been a routine custody exchange, while his child watched from inside the vehicle. In the chaotic aftermath, as police secured the scene and interviewed witnesses, one detail emerged repeatedly in witness statements: the calm, almost rehearsed way both women acted before, during, and after the shooting. We've now reached the midpoint of this devastating story. If you're finding this case as disturbing and important as we do, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to our channel. Your engagement allows us to continue bringing these crucial stories to light, cases that reveal deep flaws in how our society handles custody disputes and domestic conflicts. By subscribing, you'll be notified of new investigations that expose similar injustices. Share this video with someone you think should hear this story. Every share helps raise awareness about the dangers of escalating conflicts and the importance of proper intervention before violence occurs. Now, let's examine how law enforcement tracked down these killers and the evidence that sealed their fate. As Tyrone Darling lay fatally wounded in the parking lot of Lisa's Chicken, Arlington Police Department officers converged on the scene. The first officers arrived at 5:04 p.m., securing the area with yellow crime scene tape, while paramedics attempted life-saving measures. The restaurant's patrons and staff, many still in shock, were kept inside as potential witnesses. Detective Dorothy Bailey, a 12-year veteran of Arlington PD's homicide unit, assumed lead investigator status upon arrival at 5:32 p.m. Her first priority: obtain the security footage that multiple witnesses mentioned had captured the entire incident. "We knew immediately this was going to be a case built on video evidence," Detective Bailey later stated in court documents. Witnesses were consistent in their descriptions, but having the actual footage meant we could see exactly what happened, without relying solely on memory or perception. The restaurant manager provided immediate access to the digital video system. 4 cameras covered the parking lot from different angles, offering investigators an unobstructed view of the entire encounter. The high-definition footage provided clear facial identification of both suspects and captured the license plate of the Toyota Camry. While the technical team extracted the video, officers interviewed 17 witnesses, 9 inside the restaurant, 5 in the parking lot, and 3 passing motorists who had stopped after seeing the commotion. Their accounts aligned remarkably well, describing the confrontational approach, the retrieval of the weapon, and the calm manner in which both women departed the scene. One witness, a retired military medic who attempted to help Tyrone before paramedics arrived, provided particularly valuable testimony. The shorter woman was clearly the aggressor initially, forcing him backward. The taller woman seemed to know exactly what she was doing when she went back to the car. It wasn't panic, it was purposeful. They worked together like they had discussed this beforehand. By 6:15 p.m., just over an hour after the shooting, Arlington PD had issued an all-points bulletin for Tamiya Williams, Chanel Sherrod, and the black Toyota Camry. The bulletin included the crucial detail that a child was likely still in the vehicle. The vehicle registration led officers directly to Tamiya Williams' address, an apartment complex just 3.2 miles from the crime scene. However, initial surveillance showed no sign of the Toyota in the parking lot or immediate vicinity. At 7:42 p.m., a significant break came from an unexpected source. The child's maternal grandmother contacted police after receiving a disturbing call from Tamiya. According to the grandmother's statement, Tamiya had called asking her to take the child immediately, saying only that something happened with Tyrone and that she needed to go away for a while. The grandmother, unaware of what had transpired but concerned by her daughter's tone, agreed to meet at a relative's house 8 miles from the crime scene. She then contacted authorities, providing this new location to investigators. Arlington PD coordinated with the U.S. Marshals North Texas Fugitive Task Force, establishing surveillance at the relative's home at 8:15 p.m. At 8:47 p.m., the black Toyota entered the neighborhood, but drove past the house without stopping. Task force members followed at a distance, requesting backup. When the vehicle parked at a motel on Division Street, officers moved in with tactical precision. Both women were apprehended without incident at 9:02 p.m., less than 5 hours after the murder. The child was not in the vehicle, having been dropped off with the grandmother as planned. A search of the motel room they had just checked into revealed packed bags, $4,700 in cash, and Tamiya's passport. Sharad's laptop showed recent searches for bus routes to Mexico and crossing border without ID. The handgun used in the shooting was recovered from a compartment beneath the Toyota's spare tire. Ballistics tests would later confirm it matched the bullets recovered from Tyrone's body. Gunshot residue tests on both women came back positive. During initial questioning, both women attempted to claim self-defense. Sharad told detectives, "He came at us aggressively. We were scared for our lives and for the child." This account directly contradicted the video evidence and witness testimonies. When confronted with the security footage showing Tyrone's defensive posture and lack of aggression, both women refused to answer further questions and requested attorneys. The collected evidence painted a clear picture for prosecutors. 1. High-definition video footage showing the entire confrontation. 2. 17 consistent witness statements. 3. Text messages and search histories suggesting premeditation. 4. The recovery of the murder weapon with matching ballistics. 5. Positive gunshot residue tests on both women. 6. Evidence of flight preparation. On December 14, 2022, just 2 days after the murder, both Tamiya Williams and Chanel Sharad were formally charged with first-degree murder. Additionally, both faced charges of conspiracy to commit murder, endangering the welfare of a child, unlawful use of a weapon, flight to avoid prosecution. The Tarrant County District Attorney announced the decision to try both women as equal participants in the crime, citing the coordinated nature of their actions and clear evidence of prior planning. The preliminary hearing was set for January 2023, with both women held without bail due to the severity of the charges and the demonstrated flight risk. The prosecution declared its intention to seek maximum penalties, citing the premeditated nature of the crime and its execution in the presence of a child. The murder of Tyrone Darling reveals complex psychological elements that extend beyond a momentary loss of control. Forensic psychologists who reviewed the case identified multiple indicators suggesting this was not an impulsive act, but a considered decision by both women. Dr. Eleanor Compton, a forensic psychologist who consulted on the case, pointed to several key behavioral patterns. The positioning of the vehicle to limit escape routes, the coordinated approach with Sharad initiating confrontation while Williams retrieved the weapon, and their calm demeanor afterward. These elements suggest preparation rather than spontaneity. The digital evidence reinforced this assessment. Recovered search histories from both women's devices showed queries about custody laws when a parent dies, Texas self-defense statutes, and even how to make a murder look justified. These searches dated back 3 weeks before the shooting, coinciding with Tyrone's court filing to modify custody exchange procedures. What drove these two women to murder? Prosecutors built a case around 3 primary motivations. First, the custody battle had intensified in recent months. Court records showed Tyrone had gathered evidence of missed visits and was preparing to request expanded custody rights. For Williams, this represented a perceived threat to her control over the child and her financial situation through child support. Second, text messages between the couple revealed that Sharad had developed what psychologists termed protective jealousy, viewing Tyrone as an intrusion into their relationship. In one message to Williams, Sharad wrote, "We could be a perfect family without him constantly interfering." Third, financial motives surfaced during the investigation. Williams was the beneficiary of Tyrone's $150,000 life insurance policy, established when they were still together. She had attempted to verify this policy was still active just 10 days before the murder. This case highlights the dangerous intersection between domestic conflicts and violence. While public perception often focuses on male-perpetrated violence, this case illustrates how lethal violence can emerge from any party in a custody dispute. What makes this case particularly noteworthy is how the new relationship dynamic altered the power balance, explained Dr. Compton. The partnership between Williams and Sherrod created a reinforcement system where each validated the other's negative perceptions and emotions toward Tyrone. The most profound impact of this crime fell on the child who witnessed their father's murder. Now in the custody of Tyrone's parents, the child receives specialized trauma therapy. Court documents indicate the child experiences nightmares, anxiety, and behavioral issues stemming from witnessing the violence. Children who witness parental homicide face unique psychological challenges, explained child psychologist Dr. James Kwan. They must process not only the loss of one parent, but also the violent actions and subsequent absence of the other. This creates profound attachment and trust issues that can persist throughout development. The legal proceedings moved with unusual speed. In July 2023, facing overwhelming evidence including the video footage and digital footprint, both women accepted plea agreements rather than face trial. Tamaya Williams received a 40-year sentence for first-degree murder, while Chanel Sherrod received 35 years for her role as an accomplice and instigator. During the sentencing hearing, Tyrone's mother addressed both women directly. "You didn't just take my son, you robbed a child of their father and created trauma that will last a lifetime. Your selfishness destroyed multiple families." The community response in Arlington extended beyond this individual case. Local family courts implemented new protocols for custody exchanges, including designated exchange zones with continuous monitoring at police stations and family service centers. Court-appointed monitors became more readily available for high-conflict custody situations. Advocacy groups point to several indicators that often precede violence in custody disputes: escalating hostile behavior during exchanges, introduction of new partners who become overly involved, attempts to modify custody agreements without legal cause, dehumanizing language when referring to the other parent, expressed desires to eliminate the other parent from the child's life. Family court judges now receive additional training to identify escalation patterns and potential violence risk factors. When concerning behavior appears, courts can mandate supervised exchanges, cooling-off periods, and conflict resolution education. The tragedy here is that intervention was possible, noted family court judge Raymond Torres, who reviewed the case for judicial training purposes. Multiple opportunities existed, where different choices by courts, family members, or the individuals themselves could have prevented this outcome. For families navigating high-conflict custody situations, experts recommend maintaining detailed records of all interactions, utilizing neutral third parties during exchanges, and immediately reporting concerning behavior to authorities. As Tyrone's father expressed during the sentencing, no custody disagreement should ever cost someone their life. Our family has been permanently altered by hatred that was allowed to grow unchecked. As we conclude this tragic story, I want to thank you for staying with us through this difficult but important case. If you found this analysis valuable, please support our work by liking this video and subscribing to our channel. Your subscription helps us continue investigating these complex cases that hold important lessons for our communities, courts, and families. Share this video with someone who might benefit from understanding how custody conflicts can escalate and the importance of early intervention. Consider leaving a comment about your thoughts on how communities can better protect parents in high-conflict custody situations. Your engagement helps build awareness around these critical issues and may help prevent future tragedies. Remember, behind every true crime story are real people whose lives have been forever changed. By learning from these cases, we honor the victims and work toward a safer future for all families.